They've all volunteered to become energy beings like Zephyr, Dr. Reyes explained. To spend thousands of years watching over other species, helping them when they're ready. Sarah approached the candidates. She recognized Dr. Martinez, a woman who had volunteered to operate the weapon systems during the Devourer battle, but had survived when the energy wave passed by her station. "Are you sure about this?" Sarah asked her. "Once you become a Guardian, you can never return to being human." Dr. Martinez smiled. "I've seen what humans can accomplish when we work together. I want to help other species discover that same strength." The transformation process had taken months to perfect. Using architect technology and human innovation, Earth's scientists had learned how to convert human consciousness into pure energy while preserving all memories and emotions. "The first Guardian deployment is scheduled for next week," Dr. Reyes said. "A species in the Vega system just developed nuclear weapons. They'll need guidance soon." Sarah watched as the Guardian candidates prepared for their transformation. Each one would be placed near a developing world, waiting in hidden installations until their assigned species was ready for contact. "Ambassador Chen," came another voice. Sarah turned to see Captain Torres, the commander of humanity's new deep space exploration fleet. "We've received a distress signal from the Outer Rim. A species called the Kelvani is under attack." Sarah felt her pulse quicken. This was exactly the kind of situation Guardians were meant to handle. "What's attacking them?" "Unknown hostiles," Captain Torres replied. The message was very weak, but it sounds like they're facing extinction. Sarah looked at the Guardian candidates, then at the displays showing peaceful worlds across the galaxy. 1 year ago, she had been a simple archaeologist. Now she was responsible for protecting countless species from threats they couldn't handle alone. "Prepare a rescue fleet," she ordered, "and contact the Alliance Council. It's time for humanity to prove we're worthy of the Guardian legacy." As the space station buzzed with activity, Sarah found herself back at the observation windows. Earth hung below her, blue and beautiful and alive. The scars from the Devourer attack had healed, and the planet looked more vibrant than ever. She thought about Zephyr and his long wait in the golden cage. Had he ever imagined that the species he was testing would one day take his place as protectors of the galaxy? "Thank you," she whispered to the stars, hoping that somewhere in the cosmic energy that filled space, Zephyr could hear her. A soft chime indicated an incoming message from the Kelvani system. Sarah listened as their desperate plea for help filled the communication center. "This is Guardian Station Alpha," Sarah said into her communicator, using the call sign humanity had adopted. "We hear your distress call. Help is on the way." As human ships launched toward the Outer Rim, carrying hope to another species in need, Sarah realized that this was just the beginning. Across the galaxy, there were thousands of young civilizations taking their first steps toward the stars. Some would face natural disasters, others would encounter hostile aliens, and many would simply need guidance and encouragement. Humanity would be there for all of them. Sarah picked up a data pad showing the locations of species ready for Guardian contact. Tomorrow she would visit a water world where dolphin-like creatures had just invented the radio. Next week, she would check on a desert planet where insectoid beings were launching their first satellite. Each species was unique, but they all shared the same dream that had driven humanity to the stars. The hope for something greater than themselves. As Sarah began planning humanity's next Guardian mission, she smiled. The empty cage that had started this adventure was no longer empty. It was filled with purpose, hope, and the infinite possibilities of a galaxy where no species would have to face extinction alone. The age of human guardians had begun, and the universe would never be the same. The first attack came without warning. A beam of pure darkness shot down from a Devourer ship, striking the shield over Beijing. The golden dome held for 30 seconds, then shattered like glass. The beam hit the city below, and in an instant, millions of people simply vanished. "Beijing is gone," whispered someone over the radio. Sarah felt sick, but she forced herself to stay focused. "All units target the ship that destroyed Beijing. Fire everything." Weapon platforms across China opened fire simultaneously. Beams of silver light lanced up into the sky, striking the Devourer vessel. The alien ship screamed like a wounded animal and crashed into the Yellow River. "We got one," shouted a technician. But their celebration was short-lived. Hundreds more Devourer ships were descending on every continent. The battle for Earth had truly begun. Sarah watched as humanity's courage was tested in ways they had never imagined. Fighter pilots flew suicide missions into the bellies of Devourer ships. Tank crews drove straight into landing zones, knowing they would not survive. Ordinary people ran toward the fighting instead of away, carrying weapons and supplies to soldiers on the front lines. "The humans fight well," Zephyr admitted, sounding surprised. "Most species flee in panic when the Devourers arrive. But courage alone was not enough. The enemy ships were too many and too powerful. One by one, Earth's major cities fell. Paris, Sydney, Cairo. Each one consumed by the darkness, their populations erased from existence. Then something remarkable happened. As the situation grew desperate, humanity's unity grew stronger instead of weaker. "This is Captain Rodriguez in Mexico City," came a voice over the global communication network. "We're surrounded and running out of ammunition. Any assistance would be appreciated." "This is Colonel Kim in Seoul," replied another voice. "We're sending half our forces to help you. Hold your position." "Moscow has spare energy cells," added Dr. Petrov, "launching supply drones now." Sarah realized that fear was bringing out the best in humanity instead of the worst. People who had never met were risking their lives for strangers on the other side of the planet. "Your species is unusual," Zephyr observed. "Most become selfish when death approaches. Humans become more generous." The battle raged for 3 hours. Earth's forces managed to destroy dozens of Devourer ships, but it was not enough. The enemy's main fleet was still descending, and soon even the Architect weapons would be overwhelmed. Sarah knew it was time for the final test, sacrifice. "All teams, this is Sarah Chen," she announced over the global network. "The Architect weapons can create a massive energy wave that will destroy the entire Devourer fleet. But someone has to operate the controls manually. The energy release will kill anyone within 50 kilometers. The radio fell silent. Sarah was asking people to volunteer for certain death. Then a voice crackled through the static. "This is Dr. Tanaka in Tokyo. I volunteer." "Count me in," said Dr. Petrov from Moscow. "London standing by," added Dr. Williams. One by one, voices from around the world joined in. Scientists, soldiers, teachers, farmers, hundreds of people volunteering to die so others could live. Sarah felt tears streaming down her face. "You don't all have to do this. We only need a few operators." "We're not doing this for glory," said Captain Rodriguez. "We're doing it for our children. For the future of humanity," added Colonel Kim. As the volunteers took their positions at weapon controls around the globe, something unexpected began to happen. The Architect technology started glowing brighter than ever before. Energy readings spiked beyond anything they had seen during testing. "What's happening?" Sarah asked Zephyr. The Guardian's form was pulsing with excitement. "The weapons are responding to human emotions. Your willingness to sacrifice everything for others, it's making the technology more powerful." Sarah watched her instruments in amazement. The weapon systems were drawing energy not just from their power sources, but from the love and determination of the people operating them. "All stations, prepare to fire on my mark," Sarah commanded. Around the world, hundreds of heroes placed their hands on the firing controls. They thought of their families, their friends, their hopes for humanity's future. "For Earth!" Sarah shouted. "Fire!" The planet itself seemed to scream as every Architect weapon fired simultaneously. Pillars of golden light erupted from every continent, reaching up into space to strike the Devourer fleet. But this was not just light, it was pure human emotion made manifest. The Devourer ships began to dissolve, their dark energy no match for the combined hope and love of billions of people. One by one, the massive vessels crumbled and fell from the sky like burning leaves. But the victory came at a terrible cost. As the energy wave spread, the volunteers at the weapon stations began to fade away, their bodies dissolving into particles of light. "Goodbye, Sarah," came Dr. Tanaka's voice over the radio. "Take care of our world." Sarah sobbed as she watched her friends and colleagues disappear, their sacrifice saving everyone else on Earth. When the light finally faded, the sky was clear. The Devourer fleet was completely destroyed, their remains scattered across space like cosmic dust. But as Sarah celebrated humanity's victory, she noticed Zephyr's form beginning to flicker and fade. "My purpose is complete," the Guardian said weakly. "Your species has passed the test with flying colors. Don't go," Sarah pleaded. "We need you to help us understand the galaxy." Zephyr smiled, his blue light growing dimmer. "You don't need me anymore, Sarah Chen. Humanity has proven they are ready to protect others, just as the architects once did." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked. "The test was never just about survival," Zephyr whispered as his form became transparent. "It was about finding the next generation of Guardians. Welcome to your new role, protectors of the galaxy." As Zephyr vanished completely, Sarah realized that humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. 1 year after the Devourer invasion, Sarah Chen stood in a gleaming space station orbiting Earth. Through the large windows, she could see dozens of alien ships from across the galaxy. Each vessel represented a different species that had come to welcome humanity into the Galactic Alliance. The space station was built using architect technology that humans had learned to master. Golden corridors stretched in all directions, filled with beings Sarah had never imagined could exist. Some looked like walking crystals, others like living clouds of gas, and a few resembled giant butterflies made of starlight. "It's hard to believe how much has changed," said Tom, walking up beside her. He wore the uniform of Earth's new Galactic Defense Force, with symbols from hundreds of worlds decorating his sleeve. Sarah nodded, touching the Guardian crystal hanging around her neck. It glowed with the same blue light as Zephyr's eyes, warm against her chest. "Sometimes I still can't believe we're really here." After the battle with the Devourers, everything on Earth had changed overnight. The governments of the world had remained united, working together to rebuild the cities that had been destroyed. More importantly, they had worked together to prepare for humanity's new role in the galaxy. Zephyr had been right. The test was never just about survival. It was about finding the next generation of Guardians. Within weeks of the invasion's end, ships from the Galactic Alliance had arrived at Earth, carrying representatives from over 300 different species. "We have been waiting for you for so long," the Alliance ambassador had told Sarah during their first meeting. The ambassador was a tall, graceful being with silver skin and 4 arms. Every Guardian who passed their test spoke of a species that would one day surpass even the architects in their ability to inspire hope. Sarah had been chosen as Earth's first galactic ambassador, representing humanity in the Alliance Council. It was a job that terrified and excited her in equal measure. "Ambassador Chen," came a voice behind her. Sarah turned to see Dr. Reyes, one of the scientists working on the Guardian project. "The new candidates have arrived," Sarah smiled. The Guardian project was humanity's most important contribution to the Alliance. Using the knowledge Zephyr had left behind, humans were learning to create new Guardians for species that were just beginning to reach the stars. They walked through the station's corridors, passing aliens of every shape and size. A group of turtle-like creatures from the Andromeda galaxy were discussing trade agreements with insect beings from a nearby star system. Crystal entities that communicated through music were teaching human children their songs. "How many species are we monitoring now?" Sarah asked Dr. Reyes. 47, he replied. "Each one is at a different stage of development. The Zelkari just discovered electricity last week. The Morphans are building their first space rockets." They entered a large chamber filled with holographic displays showing different worlds across the galaxy. Each display showed a young species learning, growing, and reaching toward the stars. Sarah felt the same wonder she had experienced when first opening Zephyr's cage. "And the new Guardian candidates?" Sarah asked. Dr. Reyes gestured toward a group of humans standing near the center of the room. They came from all over Earth. A teacher from Brazil, a farmer from Kenya, an engineer from India, an artist from Canada. What they had in common was the same quality that had made humans special, the ability to hope and inspire others even in the darkest times. A test of 3 qualities that all advanced species must possess, Zephyr said. Courage, unity, and sacrifice. Your species must demonstrate all 3 before I can help you. Tom stood up. And if we fail? Zephyr's form dimmed slightly. Then I will return to my cage, and your species will face extinction. Sarah felt anger building inside her. You would just let us die? I do not make the rules, Zephyr said sadly. They were created by the architects based on millions of years of experience. Species that cannot work together cannot survive in the galaxy. How much time do we have? Maria asked. 72 hours to prepare your people and pass the test, Zephyr replied. I can teach a few humans to use architect technology, but only if your leaders agree to work together. Sarah made a decision. Then we need to get back to Earth immediately. I will come with you, Zephyr said. But remember, Sarah Chen, the fate of your entire species now rests on your shoulders. As they prepared to leave the ancient facility, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was all a dream. But when she looked back at the golden cage, now empty and cold, she knew it was terrifyingly real. Just as they reached their ship, Maria's communication device beeped with an urgent message from Earth. Her face went pale as she read it. Sarah, she whispered, Space Command is reporting massive, unidentified objects appearing around Jupiter. The invasion has begun. Sarah's ship raced through space toward Earth at maximum speed. Zephyr's energy form sat in the passenger seat, his blue glow filling the small cabin. Through the windows, they could see dark shapes moving between the planets like hungry sharks. Those are Devourer scout ships, Zephyr explained. They are studying human defenses and weaknesses. Tom was at the controls, pushing the engines harder than they were designed to go. How long before the main fleet arrives? 58 hours, Zephyr replied. Not much time to prepare your species for what is coming. As Earth grew larger in front of them, Sarah felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She was about to ask 7 billion people to trust a story that sounded impossible. Tell me about this test, Sarah said. What exactly do we need to prove? Zephyr's eyes dimmed as he remembered painful memories. The architects learned that only 3 qualities matter for survival in the galaxy. First is courage. Your species must be willing to fight against impossible odds. Humans have plenty of courage, Maria said. We fought wars for thousands of years. Fighting each other is not the same as facing extinction together, Zephyr warned. The second quality is unity. All humans must work as one people, not separate nations. Sarah's heart sank. Getting all the world's leaders to agree on anything was nearly impossible. And the third quality? Sacrifice, Zephyr said quietly. Some must be willing to give their lives so others can live. They landed at the United Nations building in New York. Within an hour, Sarah found herself standing in front of delegates from every nation on Earth. Zephyr stood beside her, his glowing form causing whispers of fear and amazement. Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah began, what I'm about to tell you will sound crazy, but our planet is about to be invaded. She explained everything, the discovery on Kepler 442b, meeting Zephyr, and the approaching Devourer fleet. Many delegates laughed or shook their heads in disbelief. The Russian ambassador stood up. Dr. Chen, even if we believe this story, why should we trust this alien creature? Zephyr stepped forward. Because I am programmed to help you, but only if you prove worthy. Watch your satellites and telescopes. Soon you will see the truth. As if on cue, an aide rushed into the room and whispered something to the Secretary General. His face went white. The Hubble telescope has just detected massive objects moving past Mars, he announced. They appear to be artificial constructs of unknown design. Panic filled the room. Delegates shouted in different languages, demanding answers and making accusations. Sarah realized that humanity was failing the unity test before it even began. Silence! Zephyr's voice boomed through the chamber. The blue light from his body grew brighter. If you cannot work together in this room, how can you defend your world? The Chinese ambassador stood up. What exactly do you want us to do? Share everything, Zephyr replied. All military technology, all resources, all knowledge. The architects have weapons that can stop the devourers, but they only work when used by a truly united species. That's impossible, said the American representative. We can't just give away our military secrets. Then you will die keeping them, Zephyr said bluntly. Sarah watched as the delegates argued and threatened each other. Fear was making them act like frightened animals instead of intelligent beings. Time was running out and humanity was failing. Then something unexpected happened. The Japanese ambassador, an elderly woman named Dr. Tanaka, stood up slowly. My granddaughter lives in Tokyo, she said quietly. The Russian ambassador's son lives in Moscow. The American representative has a daughter in New York. Are we going to let our children die because we're too proud to work together? Her words cut through the arguing. One by one, other delegates began to nod. Japan will share all our technology, Dr. Tanaka declared. Germany will do the same, said another voice. Soon every nation was agreeing to complete cooperation. Sarah felt hope rising in her chest. Zephyr nodded approvingly. You have shown the first step toward unity. Now comes the real test. He raised his hands and holographic displays filled the air above the delegates. Complex blueprints and technical diagrams appeared, showing weapons and shields beyond human understanding. This is architect technology, Zephyr explained. Your scientists and engineers must learn to build these devices in less than 2 days. Sarah studied the blueprints. The technology was incredibly advanced, but she could see how it worked. These weapons require multiple operators working in perfect harmony. Exactly, Zephyr said. They cannot be used by a single person or nation. They only function when many minds work as one. Over the next 24 hours, something amazing happened. Scientists from around the world worked together like never before. Language barriers disappeared as they focused on the common goal. Military leaders shared secrets they had kept for decades. Sarah coordinated the global effort from the UN building. She watched as factories in China, America, Russia and Europe all worked on different parts of the same weapons systems. The first shield generator is ready, reported Dr. Petrov from Moscow. Weapon System 2 is online, came a message from Dr. Williams in London. But as the deadline approached, Zephyr's expression grew worried. What's wrong? Sarah asked. The main Devourer fleet has arrived early, he said. They will attack in 6 hours. Sarah felt her blood turn cold. Are we ready? Your technology is impressive, Zephyr admitted. Your unity has grown stronger, but there is still one test remaining. The sacrifice test, Sarah whispered. Zephyr nodded gravely. The weapons can stop the Devourers, but using them requires someone to stay behind and operate them manually. The energy release will be fatal to any organic being within 50 kilometers. Sarah understood immediately. To save humanity, some humans would have to die. I'll do it, she said without hesitation. No, came a voice from behind her. Tom and Maria had entered the room. We all will. We found this threat together. We'll face it together. Tears filled Sarah's eyes as she realized what her friends were offering. But before she could respond, Zephyr's form suddenly flickered and changed. His peaceful expression became one of cold determination. There is something I haven't told you, he said, his voice now mechanical and emotionless. If humanity fails this test, I am programmed to destroy your planet myself. Better a quick death than consumption by the Devourers. The room fell silent. Sarah felt her world crumble as she realized their guardian might become their executioner. Outside, the first Devourer ships entered Earth's atmosphere and the final test began. The sky above New York turned black as massive Devourer ships blotted out the sun. Each vessel was the size of a city, covered in writhing tentacles and pulsing with dark energy. They moved like living creatures, hungry and patient. Sarah stared out the UN building window as smaller attack ships poured from the motherships like angry wasps. The invasion of Earth had begun. How long do we have? She asked Zephyr. The Guardian's blue form flickered with agitation. The Devourers will test your defenses first. When they realize how weak you are, they will begin consuming your planet. Perhaps 4 hours. Around the world, the architect weapons that humanity had built in just 2 days were coming online. Shield generators in major cities created domes of golden light. Weapon platforms rose from hidden locations, their alien designs beautiful and terrifying. Moscow, shield is operational, came Dr. Petrov's. Voice over the radio, Tokyo. Defense is ready, reported Dr. Tanaka. London. Weapon systems armed, said Dr. Williams, but Sarah could see the fear in everyone's eyes. The architect technology was powerful, but they had never tested it against a real enemy. Part 1. The Discovery. Dr. Sarah Chen wiped the sweat from her face as she looked at the massive hole her team had dug. They had been working on planet Kepler 442b for 3 months, searching for signs of ancient alien life. So far, they had found nothing but rocks and dirt. Maybe we're digging in the wrong place, said Tom, her assistant. He threw his shovel down in frustration. This planet has been dead for thousands of years. Sarah shook her head. The satellite scans showed metal structures here. We just need to dig deeper. The red sun was setting over the alien landscape. Strange purple plants grew in the distance, swaying in the cold wind. Sarah's team of 5 humans had traveled 20 light years from Earth to study this world. They were looking for proof that intelligent aliens had once lived here. "Sarah, come look at this," shouted Maria from the bottom of the pit. Sarah climbed down the metal ladder they had installed. At the bottom, Maria was brushing dirt away from something shiny. It looked like a wall made of silver metal. "This is it," Sarah whispered. "We found something." The team worked for 2 more hours, clearing dirt from the metal surface. Soon they could see it was the top of a large building buried underground. There were strange symbols carved into the metal that glowed with a faint blue light. "I've never seen writing like this before," said Tom, running his fingers over the symbols. Sarah took out a scanner and pointed it at the wall. "The metal is not from this planet. It's made of elements we don't have on Earth. This structure is at least 10,000 years old." The team found a door in the metal wall. It was perfectly smooth with no handle or lock. When Sarah touched it, the door made a soft humming sound and slid open. Cold air rushed out, carrying a strange smell like electricity and flowers. "The air inside is safe to breathe," Maria said, checking her instruments. Sarah took a deep breath and stepped inside. Her flashlight beam cut through the darkness, revealing a long hallway with walls covered in the glowing symbols. The floor was made of the same silver metal, polished so smooth it looked like a mirror. "This place feels alive," whispered Tom as they walked deeper into the building. They passed many empty rooms filled with broken machines and strange furniture. Everything was covered in dust, but nothing had rotted or rusted. The alien builders had used materials that lasted forever. After walking for 10 minutes, they came to a large circular room. Sarah's flashlight showed dozens of metal cages built into the walls. Each cage was about the size of a phone booth, with thick bars made of black metal. "It looks like a prison," said Maria, her voice echoing in the empty space. Sarah walked closer to examine the cages. All of them were open and empty. Dust covered the floors inside each one. Whatever had been kept here was long gone. Why would aliens need prison cells? Tom asked. Sarah moved her light from cage to cage. Most looked exactly the same, but one was different. It was in the far corner of the room, made of a strange golden metal that seemed to glow with its own light. Unlike the others, this cage felt warm when Sarah got close to it. "This one is different," she said, reaching out to touch the bars. The moment her fingers made contact with the metal, the golden cage began to hum softly. The sound was almost musical, like a voice singing far away. The other cages remained silent and cold. "Sarah, be careful," Maria warned. "We don't know what these things were used for." But Sarah was fascinated. The cage door was closed, but she could see no lock. She pushed gently, and to her surprise, the door swung open easily. The inside of the cage was completely empty, just like all the others. Or so she thought. As Sarah stepped back, 2 glowing blue eyes appeared in the darkness inside the cage. They floated in the air where no creature should be, staring directly at her. The eyes were beautiful but frightening, like looking at stars up close. Sarah gasped and stumbled backward. Tom and Maria rushed to her side, but they could see the eyes too. Then a voice spoke from the empty cage. It was deep and ancient, but spoke perfect English. "I have waited long enough, human." Sarah's heart pounded. "Who? What are you?" The glowing eyes moved closer to the cage opening. "I am the one who has been watching your species grow. I am the one who has been waiting for you to find me." "That's impossible," Tom whispered. "This place has been empty for thousands of years." The mysterious voice chuckled, a sound like wind through metal. Time means nothing to me. I knew you would come here, Sarah-Chen. I knew you would be the one to open my cage. Sarah felt her legs go weak. How did this thing know her name? How did it speak English when humans had never been to this planet before? You have questions, the voice continued. Soon you will have answers, but first you must listen carefully. Your planet Earth is in great danger, and you are the only ones who can save it. Sarah stared at the glowing blue eyes floating in the darkness. Her hands were shaking, but she forced herself to stay calm. Tom and Maria stood behind her, too shocked to speak. What are you? Sarah asked again, her voice barely a whisper. The eyes moved closer to the cage opening. Slowly, a shape began to form around them. It looked like a tall human figure made of blue light and energy. The being had no solid body, but Sarah could see the outline of arms, legs, and a head. My name is Zephyr, the creature said. I am what your people would call a guardian. I have been waiting in this cage for over 10,000 years. 10,000 years. Tom stepped forward. That's impossible. Nothing can live that long. Zephyr turned his glowing eyes toward Tom. I am not alive in the way you understand life. I am made of pure energy, created by an ancient race called the Architects. Sarah felt her scientific mind trying to process this information. The Architects? Who were they? They were the first intelligent species in this galaxy, Zephyr explained. Millions of years ago, they reached the stars and found many young worlds with new forms of life. They decided to help these species grow and learn. The energy being stepped out of the cage. His form flickered like a candle flame, but his voice remained strong and clear. The Architects created guardians like me to watch over developing species. When a species becomes ready to join the galactic community, we reveal ourselves. Maria found her voice. You've been watching us, watching humans? Yes, Zephyr nodded. I have senses that can see across space and time. I watched your species discover fire. I watched you build cities. I watched you reach for the stars and travel to other worlds. Sarah's mind was racing. If you've been watching us for so long, why reveal yourself now? Zephyr's form grew brighter and his voice became serious. Because a great danger is coming to your solar system. The same danger that destroyed the Architects long ago. What danger? Sarah demanded. They are called the Devourers, Zephyr said. They are creatures of darkness and hunger. They travel from star to star, consuming all life they find. They eat planets, stars, and everything living on them. Tom laughed nervously. That sounds like science fiction. Things like that don't exist. Zephyr turned to face him. The Architects thought the same thing until it was too late. The Devourers destroyed their homeworlds and killed billions. Only a few Architects escaped to warn other species. How do you know all this? Maria asked. Because I was there, Zephyr replied. I was created on the last day of the Architect civilization. My makers programmed me with all their knowledge before the Devourers found them. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. You're saying these Devourers are coming to Earth? They are already on their way, Zephyr said. My sensors detected their ships entering your solar system 3 days ago. They will reach Earth in 72 hours. The three humans exchanged terrified looks. Tom was the first to speak. Why should we believe you? How do we know you're telling the truth? Zephyr raised his hand, and suddenly the air above them shimmered. A holographic display appeared, showing space around Earth's solar system. Dark shapes moved between the planets like shadows. These are the Devourer scout ships, Zephyr explained. The main fleet is still coming, but these ships are already studying your planet. Sarah stared at the hologram in horror. Our satellites would have detected them. The Devourers use technology that bends light and energy, Zephyr said. Your instruments cannot see them until they want to be seen. Maria stepped closer to the display. How many ships are there? Thousands, Zephyr replied. More than enough to consume your entire world in a matter of hours. Then we're doomed, Tom said, sinking to his knees. Not necessarily, Zephyr said, and his voice carried a hint of hope. The Architects left a way for young species to defend themselves. But first they must prove they are worthy. Sarah looked up. Worthy of what? Worthy of joining the galactic community, Zephyr explained. Not all species pass the Guardian test. Those who fail are left to face the Devourers alone. What kind of test? Sarah demanded.